When I was a child, over 50 years ago, the name I carried most of my life was Queltleston. But recently I received my father's name that he bequeathed to me, Stz'uminus. And my childhood name from my grandmother's side of the family was Yoltis. So I carry 3 names. Anyway, my grandfather used to set net here all the time, every night, until the dogfish showed up. And then they tangle up the net and rip up the net. So we stopped setting net, because when it's too hot, they show up. I guess you call them mud sharks. They only grow about 6 feet long. Anyway, we set net right here, where there's a little bit of sand on the other side, this side of that seagull. Drop the anchor there, run the net straight out, and drop the anchor outside. My grandfather would come out in the morning more often. He came out by himself. But most of the time I was with him, pulling in the net. And one day we caught this fish. It wasn't a salmon, it wasn't a lingcod, but so big. So my grandfather put it on a canoe. After we finished picking up the net, we went to the beach. He cleaned that fish. We took it to Ladysmith, paddled. We just paddled around. We didn't have a car. We just paddled wherever we needed to go. Sometimes we go to Nanaimo, Cowichan Bay, Stz'uminus. But anyway, that morning we went to Ladysmith. Brought it to a supermarket that used to be there. Showed him this fish that we caught. We didn't know what it was. Never seen one before. But it was tuna. It was tuna. We caught tuna. The weather was so hot that summer. Tuna came this far. We caught 2 that morning. And the guy at the supermarket there, the butcher that worked there, he said, "That's worth a lot of money. I'm buying it off you, it's fresh." "Yeah, we just caught it this morning." So I don't know what he paid my grandfather, but he said it was good money. And anyway, we did our grocery shopping. And my grandfather was very generous. He helped other people. He'd go and ask them if they need anything before he goes out. Sometimes they say they have no money. He says, "I'm not worried about that. What I'm worried about is what you need." And he would buy what he could. So anyway, we come back. But this one particular morning, he went out by himself, pulled in the net, and the net was all in shrivels, all in lumps. Something got in it. Couldn't have been a sea lion. Sea lion wouldn't make that kind of a mess. He got a little bit anxious. He was looking around the beaches, along the shores, along the waters. And he's pulled in the net. As he pulled in the net, salmon right there, he took it off and he says, "Oh, maybe we're having a good day." And the lingcod. And then he found that the net was all a mess, all cut up. So he started pulling in the net. He was in a hurry now. He got in the net, got 3/4 ways to the last 10, 15 fathoms. He caught more fish where it was solid. And he says, oh, whatever it was, chased all his fish into my net. So he got it in, and he went ashore. We used to tie up our boat, our canoe, below the beach over there, where that house is now. Our house was further back. And yeah, he cleaned the fish, and he had a bench up there, a chair, like an armchair, and another bench where I would sit. So we went in, our grandmother gave us something to eat. We had a little bit of lunch, we went sat outside. All of a sudden we see this big wave coming along the beach here. Big wave. Oh, Semiquala. What is that? My grandfather was saying. He was really fascinated. All of a sudden it had come out of the water. It was grayish black, dark colored. And then it went down. And a while later the tail went down. So it was quite lengthy. It went right along the shore. When it hit close to that reef, it almost come right out of the water. It was huge. It wasn't a whale, wasn't a killer whale. The old lady that used to live over there, this side of the big house, Sophina, married to Willie Seymour. She saw it as well, as did a lot of other elders. They were all standing out along the shore. But Sophina ran right down to the beach and was watching. Was really amazed by this creature. My grandfather said, it's coming for somebody. They're going to take them to the spirit world. Oh, I learned to understand when he said something to me. I learned to understand that. We lost him. Who it is, I don't know, he says. Who it is, I don't know. But it's here for somebody. And that creature went down. Went right over there across the bay there. There's an old graveyard. It turned there and it came back this way. Reached around here somewhere and it disappeared. Around the same time, people in Ladysmith and other places were saying they were seeing this strange creature around. Something like Ogopogo. They said it was a strange creature. There were some sightings of it. But we saw it totally right here. That was in the early 50s. And wasn't a month later, and our grandmother, Sophina, passed away. My grandfather would lead quest. That's who that creature was here for. Come that took her spirit away. Take her to a good place. That's what I recall. This was my playground right here, where I used to come, play, walk along the beach all the way around the point. Beachcomb, pick up strange pieces of wood. I had them all lined up along here. But that's my recollection. A story that is true to my knowledge. I remember seeing that creature. And interestingly enough, heard the guy at the store used to be Johnny's service station talking about a sighting of Ogopogo. We didn't know what that was, but a strange creature. But it swam right through this area here, around the bay and back, reached around here, went under, and that was it. It was invisible. Never seen again. Another story, you see that rock over there? That's almost a square block of rock. Early spring, something like now. My grandfather come down here and dug couple of buckets of clams. He says, son, I only got 2 shells, but I have a craving for ducks. But I only got 2 shells left. So we dug 2 buckets of clams, little necks, went over there by that rock, and he dumped that 2 buckets all in front of that rock, low tide. And he told me to go up there by the house and just sit there and not move. And I don't know how long he laid there. He laid there so patiently, and the tide was coming in. Sure enough, ducks started flying in, landing out there, cautiously coming to the shore where the clams were. My grandfather was laying there with his gun, a shotgun, 12 gauge. I remember he bought number 4 shells, buckshot. Anyway, I don't know how long he laid there, and the tide started to come up to him, but he still laid there. And ducks were just flying in. He could hear them. Finally, when he thought the time was right, I guess, he sat up and shot. It was amazing. 18 ducks he caught. 1 shot. And I went rushing down to the beach. All the ducks were flying out, and it was just black along here. Black ducks. Tsz'uminus, they call. Got the white wing tips. And my grandfather and I dragged the dugout canoe, went paddling out. Some of them ducks were still trying to fly, and we'd go and catch those ones first. He'd wring its neck, put it in a canoe, and we'd come back for the others that were drifting. That's my experience with my grandfather. Many stories like that, stories of survival, things that he did to make sure we always had something to eat. We never bought stuff from the grocery store except for flour, tea, baking powder. That was the basics that we needed to survive. Everything else was natural from the beach. In wintertime, we go along the beach that way, find lingcod, February, around February, lingcod eggs. They call hike. He'd only take half, and then he'll put rest back down. he says, we gotta be careful how much we take. Not take it all, not be selfish. So next year we'll have another supply of food. He'd tell me things like that all the time. That's my grandfather. Stz'uminus. He was a great speaker. I didn't become a speaker until a few years after he passed away. But a lot of people say that I would have made him proud. I don't have an academic education, but my cultural inheritance brought me to where I'm at. I even become chairman of the board for the AFN. 12 years I worked in and out of Ottawa. For Obed Mercredi, Phil Fontaine, Matthew Kuhncum, back to Phil Fontaine. I've seen a lot of changes, as my grandfather did as well. I remember we were going to West Home for a gathering, the last gathering in that big house before it fell apart. And the first man went around the moon. He said he thought he'd never ever hear about it or see about that. All he remembers is the horse and buggy stage or something like his life. So from my grandfather's experience to my experience, there has been great changes. The transition for our people has been great. To adjust to a whole new colonization environment, governed and ruled by the federal government. But we hope to change that we govern ourselves. All that history, for many of our elders, is a painful memory. They shed tears that take human form, called hakamatlas. Take human form when they remember their old people, people I never saw, but heard about. This much I share with you today. I thank you. I appreciate sharing this with you. I hope it's beneficial for somebody. Ay squalawan. Good heart, good mind, good spirit. So we can get away from the black era. What my grandfathers went through, grandmothers, the residential school. It's a painful memory, but we survived. And I raise my hands to each and every one of you that are willing to listen to Qualtleton, Stz'uminus, Yolti story, Willie Seymour. Hi,